McCartney, and many strings to her bow, figuratively and literally. Exactly. As a renowned and much loved harpist, piano teacher, singer, and one of our lecturers as well, which is great. And you're doing your PhD.
It's an EdD, actually.
Pardon?
It's an EdD, so it's a professional doctorate in education.
And who are you doing it with, Kristen?
University of Liverpool.
University of Liverpool. And what I've got about what we're going to hear about here is tonight that basically the world has lots of pressing problems. Business tend to address issues that make profit. It's something about trying to bring business models to resolve world issues around sustainability and other problems that the world has. So how can we transform business education so that business becomes interested? Is that correct?
Yes, although more or less what it is that this has already been...
And there's the segue.
Yeah. So really my field is critical changes in education in general. So my master's degree was the critical point that music education changed. And then I went through Paulo Freire. I don't know if any of you know Paulo Freire, a 1970s educator that took on minorities and people that didn't have a voice and were oppressed, and he moved from there. And then now to do my EdD, I was looking for where it had changed again, and the major change has been in business education. So they're taking these ideas from Paulo Freire, from all the other climactic changes in education, and they're moving it forward in business education, and this is already happening. So really what this talk is saying, this problem has been spotted, this problem has been addressed, and it's being rolled out. And you'll see, I've got lots of examples of people that have joined into this globally responsible leadership initiative. And it's a global thing. They've worked out how to do it. Somebody has come along and went, we're at a bit of a crisis point, we need to do something. So really it's just talking through what's going on, and some places where I think maybe we are a little bit still stuck, and we need to make a little bit of a move to join in with what is happening. So there are three ways I think we can achieve this. The first way is to make sure that our thinking is systems thinking, and not siloed thinking, so that we can link all these things together. And the second one is to start people, instead of thinking of where they are and looking at what's outside, to start thinking of what's outside and then how they can create a business model that brings that in. Because that's future-proofing things. And thirdly, it's just showing that we are not just starting now, that there is a big movement out there and there is a lot of support, and probably what we should be doing is joining in the support. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is, are we on here? Yeah, a picture that's going to come up in a minute. So people say, this is a Paulo Freire idea, that if you give somebody a picture, people start talking about how they relate to it. And this is a picture by Banksy that addresses business, I think, and society. And I think this art doesn't speak 1,000 words, it asks 1,000 questions. So how does this represent business? Is this how people actually think business is? So, and is this actually how business views itself? And then how does it represent society? And is this how society represents itself? And then thirdly, what sort of change? Any sort of change? Proper change? What sort of change are they talking about here? So, is it definite or just vague? So, most of these ideas come from our prejudices and our gut instincts and our very comfortable stereotypes. So one of the stereotypes is that business is just interested in profit for themselves. That's a stereotype. We're going to look at Muhammad Yunus later on, who's won a Nobel Peace Prize, and he said he refused to be stereotyped in that way. Businessmen do not just want to go for profit in themselves. Another one is that society is often viewed as weak or like puppets, or something that can be manipulated and controlled and fed tidbits, and it's them and us. The business is big and tall and strong, and society is weak and needs to be moved around. And really that's not very representative either. But that's something that's very often played on. Politicians will play on that. Lots of people play on trying to separate them and us. And the third one is change. So do we just presume that change can only be better. So even if you just know, I've put stuff here, but I'm going to swear. But you know what people say, it's like it's a new day, but it's the same stuff, isn't it? Same shit. So but if you move to new management, but the same stuff, just because you're seen as doing something, are we keeping society happy? And that makes you think again of society as something that communicates. Is it a real thing? So there are lots of questions that a picture like that can answer. So, and then we can look at, and it's no use asking us because we're all business people and we know loads of different answers to this, but had it have been a full crowd place, then I'm sure we've got very interesting answers. So the business of business. What is the business of business?
On the spot now.
Yeah. I did write lots of things down and then I thought, no, do you know what? I'm just going to ask. So this comes from a very famous quote. There's a very famous quote, 1979 quote by Milton Friedman. And Milton Friedman said, the business of business is business. And that is all. And he had no time for any social thing or something. And we still teach, if we haven't got any ideas, but I'll just carry on with my notes. We still teach based on the report findings of a 1959 American report, the Ford-Carnegie report. And the Ford-Carnegie report, and at the time, was a wonderful thing because business didn't really know what it was doing. Obviously, they're based on factory ideas because that's what they were doing. But they said business needed to be professionalised. So people needed to learn about how things work. So, so that was 60 years ago, and the social framework of society doesn't reflect 1959 anymore. So it was very sensible and pragmatic at the time, but what it really worked on was creating silos. So you could keep an eye on the processes, so you could professionalise it, so that you could do more lean management. So it was all about taking little snippets and trying to do better at that. And you learn in a business school, we're a business school, that you need to make a profit and you need to gain market share and you need to be efficient and you need to keep ahead of the competition. Nothing wrong with that, not at all. It's very sensible, it's very pragmatic, and manufacturing and retail, still very, very important. They're fundamental principles to observe, but they're insufficient of themselves. And if you take them just of themselves, they are just outdated as separate things. So businesses are too interconnected now to work well in silos, and processes and theories can't on their own create what we need in the entrepreneurs of the future. So they're very good management tools, but actually for putting things together and becoming a great entrepreneur, they're not much good. So now, what's the business of education? Yeah, because again, going to the Banksy picture, there's an automatic idea that business is quantitative, education is qualitative. But actually, are they really that different?
The business of education is education.
Yes, but the business of business is also to meet needs of society, to meet the needs of the economy. Business schools need business thinking because they are a business. Yeah. So they still run pretty much around maximising profit. Might be for the economy, it might be long-term profit, but they need to be seen to be making a profit. They need to gain market share and be efficient to be ahead of the competition. There's still a business school, an education or an HE establishment is still working very much on the same sort of models. So business schools need business thinking. So business thinkers educated traditionally can no longer be sufficient in themselves. So subject knowledge, mainly because subject knowledge isn't power anymore. So if I want to find out what business teaching is, I can go, hey Google, tell me about business education. There's actual snippets of information that you get, like the fundamentals, the theories, the processes of business is available freely online to everybody. So business education needs to be more than you can get available on an app. So, and you see this just playing out anyway. People are using lots of flipped classrooms. They will say, I use that all the time. I will say, we'll be talking about this in the next lesson. These are your keywords. Here's a Google search, use advanced Google search, put together what you know about it, and we will discuss it. So it's the discussion in the classrooms rather than the bits of information, because that can be gained at any point by any of the students in their own time. So we need to move from information transmission. This was a big thing of Paulo Freire, that it is no good, he called it banking education, to have a vessel of knowledge and what you call an empty vessel, and you take that and you pour it into that. Because A, you don't have all the knowledge, so what you're passing on is going to be flawed in the first place, and B, this is not an empty vessel that you're pouring it into. So you're missing that, from that whole dialogue thing, the ability to put things together. So we need to build knowledge, not information, but knowledge and complexity, a complex understanding of the realities that we're teaching. And that's critical thinking. And Google can't supply that. That's why education is very important. That's our business. Silo system. Love them. So we all know what that is. Yeah, so it's where, think what it says up here, where you don't have any reciprocal sharing. So information is trapped like the grains in a silo. So business schools and actually higher education institutions in general, there are books and books on educational management in higher education that says that the silo system is so stuck, much more stuck than businesses are. Businesses are starting to narrow the hierarchies down, become flatter and flatter, and trying to spread some knowledge systems around. But the traditional professor management students, that's all just changing all the time. They're all in a period of flux, but they're all very separately kept as a general thing in higher education, according to lots and lots of books on it. So HE is far behind most businesses. So siloed knowledge is insulated knowledge. So that is knowledge containment rather than knowledge management. So why would you maintain that? Well, silos are very safe. People know where they are in them. They can be controlled because they're a certain size. And they give, or at least they, those inside them like to think, they give an impression of power because nobody knows what's going on. So we are this, we are that, we are HR, we are business, we are this. So we are enough all in ourselves. We don't need to share that. And they hide, whoop, messed it up. They can hide a plethora of ignorance, and they allow you to avoid awkward questions. So they're very useful, and they're very effective at keeping people out. And so people keep them much longer than they're useful because change is a difficult thing, and people like what they're used to. But it is counterproductive. You can see that there. It reduces efficiency in the overall operation and morale. And also it means that what comes out, so you have your mission, your values, what comes out from a silo somewhere else is an objective. We have decided this, you need to do A, B, C, D and E. But if you just think of your life in general, if you look at what you're doing, you think, oh, it might be lovely, but I've got to be here at this time and here at this time. Then you start building up stress. Everything becomes stressful. You start understanding the wider picture of what you're doing as a person or in your life, and you just become this objective thing. I have to teach this class. I have to be here. I have to be there. And then if you stopped and sat back and saw the whole picture, it's like, no, I want to be doing that. That's really quite cool. So sometimes when you just narrow it down to just objective after objective in a job, if it takes the joy out of your life, it's going to take the joy out of your job too. So when you don't understand what's happening because all you are getting are these orders from something that you don't understand because it's closed down to do this, then it can be damaging for a business. And businesses have spotted this, actually. They understand that they need these structures where more people know what's going on. It's much, much cheaper for them for a start. But also ideas at the very beginning on the ground can go to the top very quickly and vice versa. You can actually understand what's going on. So I've completely lost my place. So then I was going back to power. So you think that there's power in the silo, but actually, because information is now available on Google, connecting knowledges and knowing how all knowledges interact, what with and where and when and how, that's systems thinking. That's where power is now. If you actually understand what is going on in everything and why, you've got far more power than when you just work in silos, and that's what businesses do. And that's systems thinking. So these are a couple of transcripts from interviews that I've done. So she is a student. I work with the business school, Lausanne, that's the business school that I'm studying, because they've been the catalyst for change. So you can see she does the supply chain logistics at Unilever. And this is another one from one of the lecturers. And it comes down to complexity. Ultimately, everything that's happening now is so complex that it's really important that you can make all that. And I'm going to go back to Kareem. And this is the reason that she chose to go to business school this time. Especially, it's an integrative problem. All the other ones sounded to me much more like pieces of silos and not really integrated. So you've got managers in business looking at things going, do you know, we can't just do this bit now or this bit now, we need to understand the entire system and how to go. Where lecturers going, it's no point me teaching my students this because the business world is too interconnected. We need to put everything together. And then here you've got a student saying, I don't want to go and learn something from 60 years ago, or I don't want to go and learn the business of Milton Friedman, 1979. You know? We need to tackle what's actually going on in the world at the moment. So yeah, and this is systems thinking. So instead of seeing things in parts, you actually understand the whole of what's going on. And you're not just going from an A to B process, but you're understanding how everything ties into each other. You're not breaking it down into that. And this is all the Ford Carnegie stuff. This is what they do. But this is not where the world is now. So it's not simply structures. Everything is working together. And the hierarchies are becoming networks. So we can actually, you know, as business teachers, we see that going on in the world now. When we look at things, we're getting relationships between things. So, how many skills do we need to master? Questions, and nobody's answered any questions yet.
No.
You'd be pushing your students, wouldn't you? Let's answer these questions.
Absolutely. Get them out of the silos.
Yeah, so what do you reckon?
How many?
How many skills?
23.
I was going to say, we're talking qualitative number here, or would you like some?
What skills?
No, actually, yeah, or what skills? Yeah, what skills? Because I'll tell you, I've tied it down to one.
I think there's only one.
And we might not have the same one. Curiosity. Is that the similar sort of way that you were on about actually being interested in what's going on, around actually asking the questions?
You can't possibly have the knowledge to do all of it, and you can't possibly have
No.
those discrete
No, but there are only various things that you need. What is going on? Why? What? How is this connected to what? Where is this connection? And you need help from others.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know, you need to know what's going on. And that turns, I've missed a word, it turns information into knowledge, knowledge into intelligence, and intelligence into systems thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because anybody's only going to tie together all the things that interest them. You know, you just need to be, if you're a curious person, you're going to ask questions, aren't you? Right, so this is a very unfinished model, as you can see. I'm just showing it you out of curiosity. It's going to carry on every time I click. It's going to go through. So this is you like one model? So this is the model that I've put together. I've only stress tested it against 4 models, but it's working at the moment. But I'll keep stress testing it. But this is my model. And so I talk about catalytic change in education. That's where I'm coming from. So the first one is there's got to be a situation where somebody goes, we've got to do something about that. Oh yeah, no, first off, the method is the teacher. That comes from Kodai, who was the music pedagogue that I first stopped, and they said, what's your method, what's your method, what's your method? And he kept saying, I have no method, the teacher is my method. If the teacher understands what it is they're supposed to be doing, they will do it in their own way and they will do it the best way that they can be. And he very firmly didn't want chunks of what he did to be taken and then sold on, which is actually what's happening. That's the end bit of my model. So it's where my model came from is the start of him saying, I don't want that, and then that being what happened and what's going on. So society changes in some way. At the moment, society, everything's changed. We'll have a quick flick through it in a bit. Fourth Industrial Revolution, we've got the globalization, we've got social media, we've got interconnection with everything. So the world is very, very, very different. And that means certain things need to change. So you have, okay, we've done that. Right. And it can be chaotic. I'll just read straight from here. So society loses trust in what they know, and in governance, and in norms, and in educational norms as well. So you'll find more people will be homeschooling, which is what's happening at the moment. At the time of Paulo Freire, people started going to things like Summerhill School, trying out different things, because something isn't right about the fit at the moment and how society is and the way education is being done. It's a cyclical thing, it happens. Society changes, and then people feel a need for something else, and it needs to go, it needs to be noticed, and noticed in sociology, and noticed in academia, and people will start writing about it. And they will start going, why is this? At the moment we have the, and again it will come up later, Trump and Brexit and ISIS, this entrenchment where people are going, we do not want this world to change. And then ISIS comes to the other side. And then you have the people that go, the world is changing, I can't cope. So they will shut themselves away or fantasy flight to something else. This is where you get terrorism and extremism from. So you get, this is a society point. And at that point, the things go on the outside to explain it afterwards. People start looking into it, and innovation and best practice. And it will come to, when it comes to education changing, what you need is an academic who is a practicing teacher. And also has enough influence. So Paulo Freire worked for the Ministry of Education. Kodai, the music pedagogue, was so rich, and it was communism, he could just say to the government, this is what I want. And he got it, got skills made. Catherine Muff, who's leading the business education, she's the dean of the business school. So they need to be academic, they need to be teachers, and they need to have a little bit of influence. And then they will start doing things, influencing things, and putting it into practice. And then the problem happens when people start just taking little ideas of it, so they're no longer answering the question. They dilute it down. So from Paulo Freire, we now get lots of reflective logs. Completely moved off from the whole point of this as part of critical thinking. You know, there's loads of things that Paulo Freire came up with, the idea of discussive classrooms, flipped classrooms, this sort of thing. And now they're seen separately. They're completely diluted and taken away from the whole point, which is to get people to think in the classroom. Okay, so trust eroded, need of society, academic need noted. So you find a pedagogy that fits the need. Establish a school, inspire followers, including those who eventually stop their potential. That's because they can make a career out of small things. Publish the studies, open more schools, and then your voices become fragmented. Careers take precedence, entrenchment begins, and society puts trust in that. They put trust in seminars you can go to, books that you can read, that give you tiny, tiny little snippets of a big picture. So that's it. It will all be changed, but that is my model. Okay, so back to this talk, systems thinking. So issues we should be curious about, globalization. Now what we We teach globalisation, but we teach each individual thing of globalisation. We might teach communication in globalisation. We might teach culture or exploitation. But if we want to teach about equality, then that links to culture. They will also link to the shrinking world, that no longer, like the girl from Saudi Arabia who could use Twitter, shrinking world. All of these things are interconnected, but they're not taught in an interconnected way. But if you start thinking, right, I want to talk about how people communicate across the globe, you can start with almost any of these things and work it through, because everything comes from everything else. So actually looking at that and linking it helps you understand exactly what has happened, rather than just saying, oh yeah, people outsource a little bit. Right, social media. I've got to go through all of the model on here to get to where we're going. Social media is incredibly powerful. So we have publication, discussions, relationships, sharing, addition to media, commerce, services, technology, and now we also have publishing, messaging, discussing, collaborating and networking. Everything is out there, everything is transparent. It's really powerful stuff. So we're in control of our own, I'm doing the same thing again. Publishing, publicity, purchasing, reading, listening and watching. And businesses have immediate feedback. And there is far more transparency than a lot of people would like. One of the interesting things on social media, do you know Student Room? So before the year twos had an exam last week, and they knew that exam was being taken somewhere else an hour before, and they were all on Student Room waiting for it to come straight up. Okay. There's a secret, probably shouldn't have said that, but that's how things are. Everything is shared, everything is open, everything is transparent. And as we see later, accreditation is changing all the time, and that's one of the reasons why. That it's absolutely unstoppable. So it comes with a big sense of responsibility, and it's not necessarily going to stay as we know it. We can just think of Facebook, but it changes all the time. And it changes because of this, the fourth industrial revolution. I know it's too small to read, but you don't need to read it. You can go on Google and ask about the fourth industrial revolution. So the fourth industrial revolution, the third one was the internet. So the fourth industrial revolution is absolutely everything colliding with everything, becoming synthesized and technology going whoosh. We are right at the beginning. So this is one of the main reasons this systems thinking is vital. This is a synthesis of absolutely everything. This is where people look at a new bit of technology and go, I could use this to do that, I could use this to do that. It's more than robotization and AI, everything is connected. Businesses are disrupting in many, many ways. Things like Uber are coming out of that. Things like, and we'll go through that as well, the gig economy. People are able to sell their skills in various different ways because there are apps to do it. The delivery of things by apps, all of these, it's like moving forward all the time. And we don't know where it's going. So we have to, curiosity to just to know that we are in a fourth industrial revolution and everything's going to change. We might even get gates that work. We might be able to be here and press a button. So the gig economy. So as you were saying beforehand, I do very many things. That's a portfolio career. Lots of people do portfolio careers. You have, I'm sure that's what you're going to do for, isn't it?
I've been doing it for years.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have a real issue with this because I go to things like File Expo and I have 20-somethings on the stage telling me about portfolio careers, and I have had a portfolio career since I was about 14.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not...
It's not a new thing. It's not a new thing, but it's becoming mainstream. And for the young people, they're going to start seeing it not as a secondary option that, some people do it to fit around family or to fit around the fact they want to carry on with 2 or 3 different careers, or they want, but just as a fact, you know what, I can make money doing this while study to do something else, So you start adding things. Catherine Muff will look at who's the catalyst for this. She's stopped being a dean now, and she's just got a website, and she does all sorts of portfolio stuff. She's brilliant and stuff, so you know, why does she need a job? But that ties very much into the way people need to stop thinking in silos, particularly in business and in management, because these days people can go, don't need a job. You know, I can sell my skills somewhere else to somebody else, and permanence is an option. So I've got this might become a big problem for businesses if they don't offer incentives and flexibility. And some of them do; they will embrace it. They do a lot of outsourcing, and outsourcing is boosting portfolio careers and gig economy. So, I suppose portfolio career, gig economy.
How does that impact on somebody who wants, for example, to take a mortgage out? Because a lender will not lend you money for a house if you don't have a permanent job.
Yeah, but a portfolio career doesn't necessarily mean you don't. A gig economy could be, but a portfolio career, yeah, I will be fine. I need to remortgage my house next time, yeah.
In a traditional employment, all the way through, I've worked in a traditional employment, but part-time.
Yeah, or you can add, so I work from home, I do concerts, I do teaching here, then I will be, at the moment I'm still studying, but then I will be doing academic work. So you've got proper paid work, but instalments of lots of different things rather than just
But it's also
one.
life-changing, so it's about shareroom.com, and it's about
Airbnb.
buying a house.
But I think your point is
Buying a house.
there's a lot of old systems that are
Yeah.
still attached to the
banks
traditional.
and banks, which is a shame because there was somebody who was going to come tonight. He's the father of some people that I teach, and actually my children's boss. But he's setting up a bank, so he would have been able to answer that.
Do apologise if you couldn't get through the game.
I will. So that it's at that point, you're absolutely right. It's at that point, as businesses and as banks, but banks are coming on board with that, and then the generations are going to be thinking this is an option. My son has already started it. He's a DJ, so he works part time. He works at a radio station, and then he also DJs in the evening. He just builds up lots of different things. I've talked a bit about this. I've only put this slide up because this is my favourite subject. Normlessness. So when something like the change happens, and I've said it already actually, all the rules have been whipped away, there's no time to adjust, and you either become entrenched or you develop anomie. And anomie is just the word for like hiding away or running away. It often leads to suicide, but it's just where the word came from. But not necessarily. No, I'm only mentioning that because that's what people might automatically consider it. Because it was the term was first coined to do with that, but actually now it's just generally used as people in society that feel alienated. It leads to gang culture and that sort of thing. I would say I'm flicking past that. I put it on because I wanted to see it and say the words. I love the word. And compliance and legislation. So this is going to be my next portfolio career because I did a bit of law teaching this semester and I love it. So I'm going to learn about it. So legislation is changing all the time, and legislation changes according to new opportunities being presented to individuals that then misuse those opportunities. And new opportunities are coming all the time, and it's perceived threats to society. So if we could see where these perceived threats to society were going to come from, then we could predict how legislation was going to change, and businesses do that. It's actually leading to sustainability drive an awful lot in businesses, because compliance is getting higher and higher, and an awful lot of the very big funds now, like the pension funds, the ones with billions, they've got really high compliance standards, and they are not allowed to invest in businesses that aren't seen to be meeting their sustainability goals. So that's driving businesses to go, nobody's going to buy our shares. So we better do something about it. So this idea is doing it. And accreditation for business schools. Accreditation is changing. Catherine Muff's had a lot to do with that. She works a lot with Maastricht to try and, as management education is changing, to allow accreditation to change. So ways of examining are changing and curricula is changing. And then, of course, student. Okay, do we need to talk about the planet? Do we all know about the planet? We've crossed 4 planetary boundaries. Crossed them. Can't get them back. So we've crossed extinction rate, deforestation, atmospheric CO2, and the flow of nitrogen and phosphorus, which is hugely damaging, especially to rivers. There's only 9. We're over 4 of them. Yeah. So, this gets complicated. Okay, so we've got a complex interaction. Basically, if I cut all this back, because this will be very boring, there is a safe operating space that has been worked out, that has been sorted. We need to make sure that we work within the safe operating space. I can put this up for everybody to read afterwards. Okay, so we can meet the needs of society, all of these needs, if we start changing from thinking inside out to thinking outside in. So this is what we've got at the moment, business as usual. It's moved, we've had a first shift to broadening the concerns, and now businesses are thinking more about, they know they need to switch their lights off, they want to go paperless, they want to recycle, they want to be, it's business as usual, but where they're taking a little bit of care. It's good for their profits too, makes things much better. Some of them will take it a little bit further. This is where the Marks and Spencers and the Unilevers are going. And more firms are taking this up. So it's a triple bottom line. So they also, at the end of their financial profits, they go, this is what we've done financially, this is what we've done for the planet, this is what we've done for society. And they want to try and show that they're in the black on all of those 3 things, the triple bottom line. So expanding the value created, I've got proper words for that. So the first one, is enterprise integration, that's what they call this. Put it on my hand? No, there. And the triple bottom line is where you have market transformation. Because in order to do that, you have to look at your whole marketing policy. It has to be your whole supply chain. It has to be, you have to be able to show where you're helping society. You have to be able to show where you're helping the planet. So where we're actually headed for, so we're about here now. We're not actually, we're about here. But we're working towards here, and there are plenty of companies that are doing this. This is where most of the help is coming into here. As a business school, this is we need to get here. So that the entrepreneurs are no longer thinking, I have a business, I want to make it as good as possible. They're going, what I really need is a business that's looking at all of those things that we've said before, putting all of that together, and we're making a profit out of that. Because this is the way that the world is at the moment, this is the way the future's going to be going, so we're pretty well future-proof. Right, so there are 2 ways you can do that. So this is the Oxfam model, Kate Raworth. So these are the European Commission climate things that I was going to read out before, but it was very boring. And this is, this comes from the United Nations, and something called 50+20 that we look at. These are the social foundations that are important. So we need to make sure that we match the shortfall, come into the green, and that we don't overshoot. And I haven't put any statistics up here, but there are, you can find them. So that's the safe and just space for humanity. So there are two ways of going to this third Business 3.0. So either you can start with a social foundation, pick one, anyone, and make sure that whatever you're thinking of does not overshoot into here. Find a way to make a profit with it. Or you do it the other way around. You have a look at what's going on in the planetary things that you think that you can sort out, match it with a social need, to create your product. Make sure it makes a profit, because then it's scalable. But you're actually starting out with problems that can be fixed. So you are starting out with needs, and then you are trying to fix it. I've just thought of something. Slightly off kilter. I'm going to go back just to the last one. One of the best at the moment. Has anybody seen that Gillette advert? Yeah. Yeah. So Gillette they've now switched from they're switching from here to here. They've just done it. So it's brilliant for marketing. Have you not seen it, Sharon? Right, so they've always been the best a man can get. So it's about manliness, right? So they've now switched to the best a man can be. They've taken on board, that's why I suddenly thought about it, this social thing. Social equality, gender equality. So they've taken a social issue and they're now going to market their entire brand on a social issue. And what they want to do is show responsible manhood. Good men, you know. This is what a good man does. So it shows some of the old paradigms, or boys will just be boys, or bullying, or sexism, and it goes, no, we're better than that. You know, we're good people, and we're good people, and we will use Gillette. And they are now going to go forward in their marketing, and everything that they do is going to be to promote that social need. So businesses are taking on this idea that what they need to look at is some social foundations and do it to make a profit. It's upset lots of chaps who just, but it will work out. Right, another tool is the gap frame. This is actually, you can use that straight away depending on what you teach. I use this. So if you click on gap frame, again, this is Business School of San and Catherine Muff came up with this. They've taken all the statistics of all the countries from around the world, matched them to the outside ones and the inside ones. And when you click on that and you go Honduras or Portugal, whatever, it would tell you, they colour coordinate it, where they're doing better than can be expected, like superbly, almost perfect, and then where there's a threat. So that's a really good tool to help you spot something. They haven't got the Isle of Man yet. I need to get onto it and say, oh, Catherine, move on. We don't really need to go much into that either, but again, this is Business School of San. So they're very much into responsible leadership. That's what she's going through, and so they have a way of how do you find out? How can you assess whether or not you're a responsible leader? I think there's a website on that too, and a tool. Okay, so we've got that far, and you just thought, we can think systematically, we can't think in silos, we don't think in silos anymore, and we've used our curiosity to explore the world, and we've seen its changing needs, we've seen its wants and its planetary boundaries, and our student is curious, and it's thinking like an entrepreneur, and it's trying to find problems to solve. So you'd think we'd be done, right? But we're not quite, because we need strength, and we need to know that we're not alone, and we need support systems, and we need to be able to see also what's happening in the world of business education and change, and that there's a framework to lean on. So I'm going to go through, and we're going to go through quickly, but I'm just going to leave you time to actually read what they say. So here are some quotes from some quite those people. I might read a bit about Paolo. This is Paolo. Please read Paolo. Love Paolo. So his big thing was people were fatalist. They really thought that whatever they were told, it had to be like that. They didn't need to question. And he said people are not fatalist. And a banking style of education is really not good. He wanted discussive, and he wanted the real problems of the world. So here are a few of his quotes. I love this one. We are transformative beings and not beings for accommodation. So you can see, this is why I think it's very, very much tied to business. Because he's often seen as just working with the oppressed and the marginalised people, but actually what he's saying is you just need to look at what's there and say you can do something about it. Participate in the transformation of your world. Love him. He got better as he got older too. So he's really well known for Pedagogy of the Oppressed, but Pedagogy of the Heart and Pedagogy of Transformation much better. So Michael Porter. Who teaches Michael Porter? Yeah, Michael Porter. Brilliant. Again, another person like Paulo Freire, started with a model, has developed hugely as he goes on. He's got a wonderful TED talk that's really worth listening to about how business has got to change. If we can get business seeing itself differently, if we can get others seeing business differently, we can change the world. So he absolutely knows that NGOs cannot do it, governments cannot do it, because there is no scaling. They can get money, they can apply it, they've got knowledge, but they need to be working with businesses to come up with solutions. And businesses then, if they're working with an NGO with an idea, they can sell and scale, and it can go very global. But the NGOs and governments aren't capable of doing that. They don't have the ideation. They don't have that need to generate profit. They're just trying to fix a quick thing at the time. So this is Michael Porter's new thing, is to work as closely as possible with NGOs and with governments and with entrepreneurs to meet needs in the world. So just have a quick read. These are a couple of his quotes. So it's a need on both sides. So the people that are addressing the social problems need the government, need business to be able to give them tools to do it. And the businesses need to be able to think of products for the long-term future that are future-proof, that are scalable, that can move forward. So there's a quite nice symbiotic thing going on. Muhammad Yunus, do you know Muhammad Yunus? Fabulous. Right, Grameen Bank. Do you know the Grameen Bank? Grameen Bank does microfinancing. So he gets groups of women. They're always women. He's got this one system that he does. There has to be a group of them. There has to be a women. They have to have a project, and he just drip feeds them enough money that they need to get through. And he won a Nobel Peace Prize. But why I've put him up there is I love this bit. They said, go and become a philanthropist. I said, no, I can do that in the business world. Create a different kind of business, a business based on selflessness. The people who are interested in profit making are also selfless. Because we just presume you make a profit, you don't care about anything. And it's absolutely not true. You can make a profit and change the world and be caring. Paul Polman recently retired as CEO of Unilever, literally a week or two ago. So the UN gave him the highest environmental accolade, Champion of the Earth Award. He's a businessman. And actually he's one of the few businessmen, when he became CEO, he sat down and went, this is the way we're going forward. We're going to address all the social things going on. If you don't want to invest in us, walk out the door. So here we've got, if we focus on improving the lives of citizens and come up with genuine, sustainable solutions, we are more in sync with consumers and society, and ultimately this will result in good shareholder returns. And he's absolutely right. He took over 10 years ago and they've beaten the FTSE, but I've just wiped the floor with it. Right, this is my beloved Catherine Muff. So she went to Rio, the original Rio summit. And then sometime later people were saying, it's all dead. And she was like, I must do something about it. And at that point she'd just become the Dean of Business School, the SAN, and she said, we must do something about it. But I'm only a Dean of a small business school. And everybody else went, but I can't do it either. And actually then she went, oh, all right. So she started building collaborations and networks. Mainly the Globally Responsible Leadership Initiative, and founded the 50-20, where she'd sort of led it. She'd get all the people together to sit down and talk, and we'll talk about those in a bit. So I wanted this particular quote, because I teach CSR, but I love this quote. So she's just saying sustainability 1.0, what you might do to meet your CSR responsibility. That's just a heavy responsibility and a nagging reminder. What we have to do is live within the limits of the planet. We shouldn't be thinking about saving our carbon footprint a little bit by turning the lights off. You know, that sort of sustainability thinking, we've sort of moved way past that now, because now we are working within the planetary boundaries and the social boundaries going out, and now we need to be thinking much further about our footprint. So one of the things she does is collaboratory. So this is one of her quotes. And this is one of her main methods. That is, she won't just work with researchers, or she won't just work with teachers, or just with students, or stakeholders. She has business people. Paul Pullman works very closely with her. A really, really big mix: lawyers, human rights activists, people that are out there in the field. Everybody sitting down, talking about what is wrong with the world to them, and it's all going to be very different, and how it can be fixed. And I've got on the Isle of Man too. We have so much we can talk about. We have so many skills and so many different people, and we silo it. And such a small island. And I'm talking to people. I've spoken to people who've said, yeah, my dad's had that idea, or so-and-so's had this idea, but they've never sort of pulled it together. But there are so many people, or the person that I'm thinking about are in their 70s. They know so many people that have been successful in so many different fields, from the arts field to the business to the science. And if you actually just get them in a room and talk about things, if you've got a real Isle of Man focus, you can find so many things. So the Isle of Man, we have a university. That's quite precious, you know. Our educators, all that I know of anyway, have vision. I mean, they don't just come into work and go, they have a vision for their children, they have a vision, for their students, they have a vision for the future. They want education to be meaningful, to actually impart things. They're vision-led people. There are researchers. So Rebecca Rowley is trying to bring a lot of those together too. So there are people that can look into things. If ideas come up, if there's a collaboratory somewhere, and somebody goes, oh, we should look at that. There are people, plenty of researchers, a diversity of talents and skills, and strong business leaders. And actually there's more than you think, because you look at what somebody does for a living, and you may not realise what else they do. People have portfolio careers. Some people are on their third or their fourth career. You don't know what talents they had before. So, you know, what could we achieve? That's just how she works a collaboratory. Look at this. I'm doing all of this without notes. I'm awesome. Yeah, so that's what I've got there. Everyone has different combinations of competencies. Yeah. So that just says it's Catherine Muff, and her idea is collaboration and laboratory. So really it's going to be research, leading to research, and she uses business leaders, artists, marketers and students as a main thing to join forces. Okay, so we need to go. So what else do we get? We've got these people. The United Nations Global Compact happened. This is where the beginning of change in business education started emerging, really. It's Kofi Annan. And Kofi Annan was the first one to go, the United Nations doing all of this. We need business. Business, the United Nations don't talk. They seem to be at completely opposite poles to each other. We really need to do something about it. So he set up a global compact. And it now has 9,933 companies in 160 countries and 59,406 reports. So people are constantly looking at it, and it's the global effect of business. You know, how business can be used in a way to make the world better. That's all a bit, but so this is 50-20. 50-20 started out, Catherine and Muff got business schools together. The business schools formed this group, this little hub of schools that wanted to do responsible leadership training in their business schools. Because they wanted leaders who were obviously going to be responsible and go out there in charge of things. They need to be seeing what's going on in the planet and society and work towards it. So it started out with, I think, and I haven't got it written down, about... Hey,
Anyone care about the dog?
No, we're not making
No?
phone calls, okay.
Alan?
we'll do
We
it.
can
Yeah,
read-
we'll do it. Yeah, we'll be fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, and their agenda is really worth reading. It's because there is no planet B, as you can read. So business schools need to take the idea that the people that they are training are the only people. They are the only people who can make that happen. Business is the only place that can happen. Nobody else has the ability to scale, to come up with ideas, to market. It's only business that can save us, really. And because we've already crossed 4 out of 9, it's becoming quite imperative that business takes this on. And business can make a profit this way. Nobody's saying do it philanthropically. They are saying find a way to make money. Please make money. Please make a lot of money. And whilst you're making a lot of money, we're going to help address all the other issues as well that are going on. I would look at 50 plus 20. Yay! The GRLI. So the GRLI is 50-20 working within the Global Compact now and the United Nations. So the United Nations got really excited. God bless Catherine Murphy, she's done enormous amounts of things. But one of the things that she did is with her network, she ended up working within, and she's in Switzerland, not far from Geneva, so not a big jump really. Became very, very connected with the United Nations. The United Nations Global Compact, Collegiate Schools of Business, European Foundation for Management Development. And what 50 plus 20 now do is they are the researchers. They are the ones that people say we need this, they'll go away and do it and present it. So they all work through GRLI. And here's just some of the, I got fed up of cutting and painting after a while, thought this much will do. But you can see there's already, I mean this is global, and there's several in England. Let's see what I can find out. I knew where they all were and I've forgotten. But there are several in England.
Gloucestershire.
Yeah, Gloucestershire's one there. Yeah.
Exeter.
So it's coming. Oh, Lancaster. There you go. So all over the world, Oasis School of Human Relations, wherever that is. Exeter. So people are starting to think that this is a movement that's growing. This is all recent. This is since 2012, really. So the timeline is Kofi Annan, 2004, Catherine Muff, 2008, 2012, 50 plus 20, and from there to this in a very quick time. And it's because business is changing and business schools need to really be very, very quick to keep up with all of this. And so the UN now it's been working together with business since 2004. They've now got to a stage where they can move forward more strongly. So they've come together, they've got a 2030 agenda, and they've come up with 17 goals that they believe that business can achieve. And they're working with that. So the idea is, if we are going to create entrepreneurs who can do this, we need to collect and we need to collaborate with these people that are already doing it, because we don't know. The United Nations can tell us what's going on. You know, we can work within this boundary. We can see where we need to go. So if we use these, we can see where we're strong. We can see where we're weak. And we can find, especially things like gap frame, where there are gaps for entrepreneurs to capitalise on. And there is help and frameworks for entrepreneurs to develop great sustainable leadership skills. We need to be teaching sustainable leadership skills because the business people going forward are going to be needing to be in that area. they need to know how to do it. Of course I had a nice ending. Yes, so my point is this, now I'm reading off this. It is very well and good to say we will wait for a community-minded person to appear with a good idea. That would be great. So we could have another Muhammad Yunus, but, you know, a Maxwell. That would be lovely. Or we could say that without exposure to these ideas and without an understanding of what's going on around them and a critical thinking mindset that is curious and is questioning, without the systems thinking to see through the complexity, without access to collaboratives to explore the complexities that others see, we are just praying for a miracle that somebody will just appear out of nowhere. And if we want successful business ideas and we want successful business leaders and we want to ensure this happens, then we have to make the conditions right. So we may have freedom to flourish, but quite simply, freedom to flourish is not sufficient in itself. And that's the thing.
Thank you.
There you go.